I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah, me too. Good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. No, it's really, really great, Nir. You're obviously so deep in the cybersecurity landscape, not only through your work with Rapyd, not only through your work with a cybersecurity company, one of Israel's
the VC, yeah.
But also meant another cybersecurity company that you were...
my previous job.
I
used to work for NSO, we can say that.
Okay, finally. Thank you. Good.
I understand what you're talking about. I used to work for NSO. I worked there for 3 years. I was the head of security when they stole the Pegasus. It's a good story. I'm not sure for on air, but it was in the newspapers. And it was really fun working there. I worked with really smart people.
Yeah.
And the company did a lot of good things. Don't believe the media.
Yeah.
The fake news, but yeah.
Yeah, I had a chance to interview Omri Shalev a while back, and I think that there's always it's a weird game that we're playing with cybersecurity, and there's obviously
it's a different game though. Offensive security companies aren't really cybersecurity companies. It's not even cyber intelligence. It's like saying that the guy that makes James Bond's car is a car manufacturer. No, he's not. He makes a weapons. It's like calling a tank a weapon. Let's start again. It's like calling a tank a car.
Yeah.
Okay, they both drive. They both have a driver. Totally different things. So a company like NSO, what it does is build cyber weapons for governments to use on government operations. Most of the governments are Western governments. Most of the operations are totally legit. And sometimes there's misuse, but, there's a good saying that, every tool could be misused. We were talking before about phishing, and most phishing comes from Gmail. So is Gmail a cyber weapon? Should the Google be closed? No. So there is scrutiny over NSO, but from my experience, and it's been a while, so maybe they went rogue after I left, but probably not. But when I was there, the success stories were like, we saved this kidnapped woman, we stopped a terror attack in a subway in Europe. Those are the kind of things that you usually hear. And most companies you work for, that's not the success story. The success story is, we got this big sale. That's about it. So it was really cool working there, and there's good memories, and there is some complexity as well.
How'd you get started with cybersecurity in the first place?
I love telling that story. So I started. I'm a chemist by trade. I didn't go to 8200. I went to the operations division, foreign relations. So I'm not one of those 8200 guys. I had no idea. Actually, I had tests for the 8200, but this is many years ago. I'm very old. People who can't see me, I'm 83 years old. Just kidding. I'm 41, but I feel 83.
You don't look 41.
Yeah, I look 83. Thank you.
There you go.
The host is mocking me right here, ladies and gentlemen. So you don't look 41, ugly man. Just kidding. Yeah, so 41 years old, but so I went to, I remember many years ago, I went to the test 8200, super freaking boring. And I was like, this is boring. I like talking. I like what is all this technical stuff? So, and you had to do, there's all kinds of, the test to see if the 300 question test, all these tests. Yeah. Oh my God. I just couldn't do it. I think if I dozed off, it wasn't for me, especially at that age.
Yeah.
That age I was wild. all the time, I just wanted to talk, make jokes, talk shit, all that stuff. So It wasn't for me. So I went to a pretty cool division, foreign relations. It's the only unit in the army that hopes for a war. Because if there's a war, there's nothing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We hate Jordan now.
Right.
Nothing. But if there's peace, then you work really hard because there's always delegations, stuff like that. So,
right.
And then I went to study chemistry because it sounded...
Really?
Yeah, it sounded cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about chemistry. I went to study chemistry, got a chemistry degree. Then I had to get a job. So I was like... Then I found a job in IT risk management. I thought it sounded cool because risk is right. Risk. It's like, wow, it's dangerous. Turns out it's spreadsheets and meetings. I was like, oh my God. So that's how I started my career.
I see a pattern of following the cool stuff.
See a pattern of a total moron knucklehead that's just by sheer luck doesn't jump off like, what's this door?
That's what it feels like. Chemistry in the roster. I should explore that.
When I was closer to the degree, people would ask me, chemistry, do you know how to make meth? I'm like, no, like, I'm the worst chemist, like literally the worst chemist ever. I sucked. I did get the degree, but I sucked, and then I just had to get a job. I thought to continue, but it's such. By the way, that's my advice to anybody young listening to this podcast. Study like basic science. Study anything, any basic science like physics, chemistry, math, anything like that. After you do that, if you complete it, everything in life is easier. Like literally anything is easier than like quantum mechanics or something. Like when I was in chemistry, I felt dumb every single day, and I'd still show up the next day. And then it just like, then you get a job, like, oh, just make this spreadsheet. I'm like, that it? You're going to pay me money for that? Wait, I don't have to pay you, right? You pay me, right? So
wow.
So then I got a job in IT assurance, and it was just working here in Israel with banks and finance and government. And then one day I was back in Israel. My boss comes over to me. He's like, you're not doing, we used to call it IT assurance. You're doing cybersecurity. I was like, what the fuck? Cyborg security? Like robots? Like, is that a thing? Like, are we making up words? I do unicorn assurance. Like, what's going on here? He's like, no, cyber security. In Hebrew, it sounds even stupider. It's like kabariti. It's like some weird word that you never ever heard before. He's like, no, this is what we do now. This is cyber security. And at that moment, I just got a new paycheck. Some guy gave it to me. No, and like later on, my salary just shot up by 30%. It's just, I'm doing the Elon Musk thing. I'm not a Nazi.
Wow. Yeah. That is such a cool story.
Yeah. And then, so I'm in consulting, and I get a job consulting, doing VCISO for, among the companies here, cyber intelligence companies, and they also need SOC 2 and ISO and VCISO services. So I'm a VCISO for another cybersecurity company, which, by the way, had a ransomware attack when I was already in Rapyd, and somebody, the forensics guy, send me my username in the Active Directory. That was cool, because then when they're looking at it, they're like,
wow.
What? Nir Rothenberg? I'm like, yeah, I used to work there. And then NSO, we're looking for somebody. And again, it's just by sheer luck. I didn't even know what they did. It was before anybody knew them.
Wow.
There was like one article. I thought like National Security Organization. I didn't know it was dumber. It's like Niv, Shalev, and Omri. That's what it stands for. Like, what? Why can't you call it? So anyway, I show up. I see these amazing offices. I get interviewed by really smart people, and I'm like, and I didn't know what they did, but I just, I was like, okay, I guess this is my shot to go work. Like, I had no idea, by the way, what I still did. When I showed up, they're like, oh, we need to do this and that. They were really excited. I'm like, but what do you guys do? And they're telling me, I'm like, oh shit.
Wow.
and then I worked there, and it was quite the experience.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was wild.
It was, and
what was the culture like?
The culture was, first off, it's just fun working with smart people. You know what I mean? It's just, and there's smart people in Rapyd. There's smart people everywhere, really. But NSO, they just focus on bringing the people who can hack an iPhone, who can hack WhatsApp. It's like the people who work there go up against, even forget about like politics, this, that. Just think technically for a second. When you work in a company like that, you go up against Google, Meta, and Apple. No pressure, right? Like easy. So those are the kind of people you see, and that just elevates everything, Yeah. So it just, I don't know how it's like now. I know, maybe I know some of the people are still there, but like from the management all the way to, the researchers, it's just the smartest people to a level that you can't do it. And a lot of the startups you see right now, the exciting ones that exited, so the founders, were leaders in NSO, and they took their like kind of unorthodox thinking, the problem solving ability, and made really cool, interesting startups.
Yeah, I'm sure it creates a lot of expectation of independence and autonomy in decision making and critical thinking. When you work in an organization which constantly has to break the knowledge gaps and constantly have to consider the world as imperfect, and then you have to identify where it is imperfect.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of surreal working there, because when I was there, it started blowing up. All the a lot of citizen labs started really focusing, and by the way, when you work in a company like NSO, it's like the big bad wolf. So any dog on the street is like, that's NSO. No, that's just a dog on the street.
Right.
That's not NSO. Like, so any like malware on anybody's phone is attributed to NSO. Maybe it's good for marketing reason. I mean, you're a CEO of a company. Imagine any cool thing. Be like, oh my God, that's Clarity.
Yeah, every deep
I'll
fake.
take that. Yeah, I'm signing right now. Exactly. Deep fake. Oh, that's Clarity. Pushing. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So in that sense, maybe it's good. But working there, it was kind of surreal in the sense that we were really proud, and we had like Western intelligence agency coming telling us like, look at all the good you do, and then you read the newspaper, we're like, oh, apparently we're the worst thing ever, like we're horrible, we just all the human rights stuff. And by the way, it's really funny, this kind of human rights discussion, as Israelis we know it, because they make it so black and white. There's no discussion, there's no thought. It's like you take like a non-Western government, and they want intelligence. So they have two options. They can put, let's say, an agent on a phone and get intelligence. By the way, you don't put it on one phone. It's like, he's a bad guy. You put it on everybody around him. You put it on his kids. That's how you spy. Apparently, I'm not a spy. I don't know. Nobody should come after me. I don't know. Like, let's just say it right now, Michael, I have no idea what I'm saying. I'll premise
There
this.
you go.
So if anybody wants to beat the crap out of me until I tell the truth, I don't know. It's just go beat somebody else. Beat a hobo on the street. Same luck. But having said that, so you go. So a government wants intelligence. So they have two choices: an elegant choice by using technology, or they can grab the guy they want intelligence and beat the crap out of him until he talks. What is more humane?
Yeah.
Right? So that's a lot of things you keep in mind when you think like, oh my God, they put something on his phone and they saw his information. Okay, and what else? Maybe this government is so ruthless, they would like kidnap all his family, like, we're gonna kill a family member every day until you confess or show up. I don't know how it works, but I've seen movies. You've seen movies. The movies aren't always pleasant. We're not talking Disney here. So sometimes these are the best alternatives. And what I do know is that a lot of times the end results that we've seen when I was there, and I was only there for 3 years, it's not a long time, was really successful terrorism combat and human trafficking, and a lot and sexual abuse, and even like earthquakes. Think about it. If you're in an earthquake and your building falls with your cell phone next to you, maybe that technology can help out. So
actually, yeah.
A lot of like life-saving things that helped out, and then you read the news. But again, we're used to that sometimes, and I don't know all the cases. Maybe there has been misuse. What I do know is that the company takes it very seriously. But I'm not a spokesperson for them, so
But your experience, net positive. And
net positive. They cared about that. Compliance was strong. They didn't want customers to abuse. They did the best they could. You could always do more, but they really tried. Just like you can again come to Google, like,
exactly.
How come there's phishing in Gmail? You don't do enough. Maybe Google can do more, but they do a lot, because I know as a CISO, if there's a phishing attack based on Gmail, you report that, and that stops immediately. So the misuse is taken seriously. And again, I feel fortunate to have worked there, because it really shaped and the most important thing as a CISO, I'm not letting you talk the whole interview, by the way.
Go
You're like,
no, go.
So the one thing, the biggest takeaway is that I was the head of security there, when they took the Pegasus, when an employee stole the Pegasus, again, that was in the news, and then dealing with that kind of breach, and police and forensics, and just being involved in that. Also the kind of trust when again, as CEO of a company, but again, I manage dozens of people, and I trust them. And the break of trust for an employee, it really feels like a stab in the back. And especially, an employee's like, okay, you're disgruntled. Do you want everybody that you ever worked with to get fired and not provide for their family? Okay, you hate your boss. Well, you don't know this guy or that. Do you know what her situation? Maybe your daughter's sick. So that kind of thing to deal with, it's like you learn the limitations of technology, DLP technology, other technology, and it's something else. It's a kind of new level to deal with.
Right.
And then it really allows you to have more portions as a CISO later on.
I guess it really matures you.
Yeah, and as you see with my dumb humor, I really need that. So
I have to say, just wrapping up the conversation on NSO, I've gotten a chance to meet quite a few of the people that have worked there in different capacities, on the technology capacity, on the business capacity, on the partnership capacity. My number one impression across all of them, extremely thoughtful, kind-hearted people, thoughtful. And I'm sure that with any organization that makes deep technology that has a lot of capabilities, there's misuse for it, and there's obviously also some maybe poor decision making. But from the stories I hear and from the thoughtfulness that I see, obviously I think that there is a big gap between perception externally versus actual actions internally.
I agree 100%.
And so, talk to me about the transition to Rapyd from NSO.
Yeah, so it's transition,
different world, different space.
Yeah, transitioning is a personal reason. It's any transition that sounds like we're talking about politics and stuff.
Yeah.
Transitioning. When I transitioned,
yes.
So yeah, but it is for personal reasons.
For a different podcast.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other podcast we do.
Exactly.
When you really dive into my personality. So working in a company like NSO takes a lot of you. It's really intensive. And again, what NSO's product is basically a national security tool,
yes.
Protecting that, and it's a lot of government mentality with the customers and with the expectation that takes a lot of you. Compare that for working for just a straight up tech company. And I'll give you a simple example: cloud, right? Like we take it for granted, like being on the cloud. It's just getting all that support. From let's say you're a customer of a cloud vendor, they have 10,000 engineers working on the product that you're using. You can never, it's really hard to replicate most of the things CISOs need to do homegrown. You can do it. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of budget. Usually you don't have that budget. So it's very rare. That's why you see companies like Walmart I heard they have 5,000 security employees, but they buy all the tools. Why don't they just all build it internally? They'll be the biggest. They can probably be one of the biggest security companies because it's not worth their effort.
Right.
They rather buy it. They rather buy off the shelf and configure and kind of bridge little gaps than just build. Building is very, very difficult in IT in general, in tech in general, but especially in security, because you need to keep up. You can't hire all the smart researcher. Again, we're in your office, Clary, right? You have top-notch researchers researching deep fakes, the next frontier. I can just imagine me going to, my boss, CEO, or the board, like, hey, have you read about deep fakes? Can I have $2 million to research it? They're like, are you serious? Who are you again? So they know who I am. Of course, yeah, exactly. But it just doesn't. The math doesn't add up. So
right.
Being there,
and this is classic for security because every day there's going to be new attack vectors, evolutions, and
also, in Rapyd, I love working with startups. I worked with a lot of startups. I started a VC with other CISOs called Mehin. We invested in startups because I felt like a chip on my shoulder. Because every time a cool startup was like, "Hey, can we talk to you?" I'm like, well, there's no chance we'll ever work together because we're on prem and there's a lot of considerations and again, it makes sense for NSO. It's hard to do it. So I was kind of fatigued by not being part of the kind of cyber tech craze. Again, it's like living in Mecca and being a Christian. It's like, why are you even there, man? Move to Italy, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm in Israel.
Yeah, but you got to see the real stuff.
I'm like 5 minutes walk from Microsoft or Asaf Rappaport's there. I can be chatting with him. Hey, you want to be design partners? No, I can't. I'm in NSO. It's like now I can do. So that was that. Then again, the breach, all that. So that I'm like, I want a normal company. And I was very fortunate. There was a lot of, this, we're talking 2019. This is where all these massive companies, Monday, Rapyd, you name it. This is when they're starting to come up, starting to build up. Rapyd back then was 40 people,
Really?
Yeah, we just bought a company for according to the newspaper. I didn't see the contract, but according to the news, it's $600 million, right? So we bought our, I think, fourth or fifth company since I'm there. So and I remember, and by the way, I remember my first day at Rapyd, my first week, and it was a great opportunity. I reported to the CEO. He's awesome. Like he's like a Steve Jobs type of character, like awesome in like the right ways and crazy in the right ways. Love working with him for 6 years already. And I remember being there the first week after NSO and like zero inbox. Like nobody's emailing me, nothing's happening. And I was like, I made a mistake. Like I should have gotten to like a Monday or something. I should like, there's nothing going on. So I come to the CEO. He's like, I think we made a mistake. Like, I don't think you need a CISO. You have 50 people. And he like looks at me and he laughs. Cause a lot of times, as a CEO, a lot of times the CEO sees like a year or it has a plan. And you as like, not the CEO, you're not talking to investors. You're not talking to customers. You don't know what's the next step, what the dilemmas are. So he just laughs in my face. He's like, go away, go back to work. Like figure this out. Like, why is this, like a CEO answer? Why do I have to find out what for you to do? I'm not your babysitter. Yeah. So then I go back, and then like I remember like my middle daughter was born, and I'm like flying to Iceland because we're buying a company, and and COVID starts, and I'm like, okay, I was wrong about this. You know what I mean? It's like happening. Yeah, I'm like flying to buy a company in Iceland or stuff like, or like the crazy things we've done. You know what I mean? Or like suddenly when you get like customers at the scale of Google, Meta, Uber, and suddenly like, and you gotta defend that. Or when we do crazy things like Rapyd did like something called Hack the Galaxy. We had William Shatner as a spokesperson, and the prize, it was like kind of a developer first contest, and the prize was a trip to space. And they're calling me into a meeting like, okay, you got to protect this. I'm like, huh? What? What is that? How is it? So it's like a different kind of problem. And the best thing is you can use partners. You can use Cloudflare, you can use Palo Alto, you can use Wiz, so you can succeed. You know what I mean? You can succeed. They say if you want to go far, go as a team. Go as a team. And if your team is the top cyber companies in Israel, you can go really, really far. Wow. And I think that's one of the keys that I have tried to collaborate with the right people, solve Rapyd's problems in the best case scenario, and hope for like really cool problems. For instance, now we bought a company for $600 million. I have to integrate that. I'm also the CIO, so I also have to do all the IT and tech work, and I also have to secure it at the same time. So that's a really, and it's a multinational company in every continent, what we bought right now. So stuff like that those are really, really cool challenges to do.
Sounds like you have a lot of time in your hands in the day-to-day for yourself.
I do. It's kind of boring. To summarize, I'm really bored. If anybody has like a side project for me,
exactly,
hook me up. Because I'm gonna fall asleep
that sends people to space. Maybe what is your job as a CIO CISO at a company like Rapyd? If you had to really distill, what is your mission? Nir's mission here.
So I'll steal what my boss says, Arik. He says that the higher you are, your job is to make decisions. I think as a CEO you can resonate with that. Yeah. Ultimately, my job is to make decisions. I'll add one more thing that I think my real job is to have vision. To have vision, because everybody else is so swamped with work, with tickets, with the next things. My job is to create the backlog, to give more things, to take risks, to look and be like, oh, this is interesting. How do we do it? I mean, there's times when I'm busier, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm more risk averse. Like, I don't want to change vendors. I don't want to do this. And then everybody kind of, falls in line with that. You're not going to have like, some engineer like, oh, screw that. I want to test all the startups. No, he's like, okay, whatever. So now we're just going to maintain, you know what I mean? So you have to look. So you look at your attack surface and you're like, okay, what is the problem we're not tackling? Okay. Like which is a team we're not working with well? Let's solve that. Let's think about it. And it takes courage. First you have to admit it's like scary. I have to go to the architects and which they know everything, and I'm out of my element as a chemist. And so this is, if I know how to make meth, that would come in handy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm a bad chemist.
But unfortunately, we don't have that knowledge.
Exactly. So I'm sure ChatGPT with the right prompt, right?
Exactly.
We'll talk about it later. So I have to come to that conversation and get collaboration, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and I cannot do it. I could just live with technical debt, or it's more apparent in companies we buy. So we buy companies, and then it's like, am I going to bulldoze over them?
Right.
Because this is how we do it.
And I'm sure that there is a discrepancy between your standards of security and the ways that you've been building the solutions and how do you protect the assets versus how they've been doing it.
Yeah,
right?
and sometimes it's just also about the priority. So for me, for instance, we were talking about earlier, I think one of the most important things is a lot of levels of in access control. You have to do not only MFA, but more and more like access tests,
Yes.
in the device, in what's on the device, in like the behavior. There's so many levels you could do it to minimize attack surface for phishing or account takeover. And that's how I see the world. I think it's much more important than a lot of other things. And then you buy another company. They're like, well, we put MFA like a few years ago, so screw you. Like, we don't care about that. And now you have to collaborate with that. And a lot of times it's like, yeah, but there's all these fires to put out, like right here. Should I deal with that right now? Shouldn't I? And so a lot of these things is what I have to deal with. And then that translates to work plans, to delivery plans. Coming from consulting, I really believe in delivery plans. So for instance, I really want every engineer that works for me, and I have a lot of engineers now, to know on a monthly basis, except the Jira tickets and the sprints and all that stuff, what they owe me. It's funny to say, like, it's like I took it from Inglourious Bastards. Like, every one of you is gonna give me 5 Nazis. Remember that? So I'm like, okay, we don't kill Nazis. We do IT security, but like, or GRC or whatever we do. Okay, what are you gonna give me in January? Right. Like, what's the delivery? Now, you're not gonna get to 100%. Yeah. But let's say you get to. So we think about domains. Let's say you take AppSec. You're like, okay, what are you going to do in the bug bounty? What are you going to do in DAST and SAST? What are you going to do every month? Let's plan the year so we'll get as better as we can every year. And then the engineers is like, and then we're speaking the same language. We're looking in the same direction.
Right.
We all know that we want to get here and then. Now, we might get one hill before the hill I pointed at, but we'll go there. So that kind of stuff, I find that the higher you up in the organization, and I have the honor to report to the CEO and be a part of the management, it makes it very effective to do that stuff. And then the team is focused, and then we get good results.
With so many different potential things to work on, with so many different vectors of attack, with so many different evolutions and revolutions happening, how do you prioritize between these different things?
So it's a lot of times you stick your hand in your mouth and you go like this in the air. For those who are just listening, I'm just holding my finger in the air,
finger up
like
in the air,
like a madman, and like people around us are like think I'm insane when they're right. So yeah, sometimes you just see where the wind is going. A lot of times I like a combination of best chance of success. I think that's very important.
Yeah,
I'm not. People call it low hanging fruit. It doesn't have to be a low hanging fruit. It could be a major structural project. Going from EC2 to Kubernetes, that's major. Maybe it's really easy to do. You know what I mean? Or like deciding that you have 0 critical findings in your environment, in your vulnerability management. That's maybe it's easy, maybe it's hard. What's your chance of success? Maybe next year you'll have a good chance. Maybe this year you should say I can have up to 3. And this is how it should work, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of times it's best chance for success with highest impact. And impact could be, good impact on the company or bad impact if the risk kind of materializes. So that's what we do. That's how we look at it. So it's me, the management of my teams. So I have like 4 or 5 teams. So the manager there, we talk about what we can do, what we can't do, and we agree on best chance for success. Sometimes we say like, okay, we can live with this risk.
Right.
It could materialize, but we have all these compensating controls, and we try to really kind of look at it with open eyes. Mm-hmm. And I also go against mainstream. Like, we're talking about some security vendors and controls before we started taping. And I was like, I'm not going to put it in. It's a waste of time. It's over. People always think about, when you get a salesperson, it's like, how can you not have this risk? And I'm like, you know why? Because my team isn't big enough. That's all. I'd rather do something knowing it's not good, keeping my eye there, than just adding another tool that has to be configured, has to be kept. And you see it a lot of times when I talk to other CISO, and I'm like, oh, I got this and this and that. And then you look inside, it's not configured. Being being in a breach that I had all the things in place, but there was misconfigurations, and we got breached. And so I could have caught it, but it was misconfigured.
Is that worse than not having a safeguard?
No, it's always bad.
It's always bad.
Yeah, it's like what's better to get run over or get poisoned? I don't know. It's like really like you're dead anyway, right? So,
but you're saying it doesn't make sense to just buy it for the sake of buying it if you're not going to configure it.
Now that I think about it, it could be worse. I never thought about that. But
it feels a little bit worse
because you had the control. Yeah,
you're making a decision, a rational decision. I'm not going to deal with this attack vector, but because whatever I'm dealing with, I'm going to deal with it properly. Versus almost just checking the box here. I bought the solution, but I never cared enough to actually configure it. I just wanted the red tape to show that I bought it.
100%. I think and in cyber, it's pretty well defined. Still, if you read breaches, and I advise anybody to read breaches, to read the Verizon breach reports and read breaches that happen. Follow Hacker News, follow Bleeping Computer, all these websites. You can really read what happened, and you'll see that most breaches happen because of basics. Like when I say most, like 90+%. What's basics? Not having enough login challenge. Yeah, bread and butter, exactly. And not having enough login challenges, and getting an account takeover, not patching. Having an open port. These things, you probably have the controls in place for that. That's why you saw, like right now in cyber, a lot of companies using AI to kind of make sure your controls are well configured. And then you see a backlash from CISOs. I've seen posts online like, hey, if I can do it in a spreadsheet by myself, don't sell me a platform. Which is fair assessment. It really depends on the organization. Some organizations, they just can't handle the technical debt, which a lot of people don't take into consideration. Like, it's like, oh, just make a spreadsheet. Yeah, it's going to have 100,000 rows because I've never dealt with it until now. In some organizations, so they need a platform to help them prioritize, to help them think and start them in the right direction. Other organizations, they're kind of doing it. They just, you just need a little more focus. So we really try to prioritize. Also, by the way, when we look at vendors Rapyd wants to work with, I tell my team, like, I hate questionnaires. Because in my mind, if you can lie on it and they can't catch you, so they're probably lying on it and we're not catching you. So if I'm asking you, do you patch? And you're like, yes. I'm like, cool. Here's my money. Thank you for telling me the truth because you would never lie, right? It's like, okay, can I prove he patches? I can't, right? Because I can externally scan him. I can see an open port. That doesn't matter because I don't know what's going on there. So what do I know? How can I prove it? Okay, and what's the real risk to me from not knowing it? So these are kind of questions, and then you go to the basics, right? Because you're saying best chance for success. What's the best chance for success? If they patch regularly, and they have a bug bounty, or they do a lot of pen tests, so the house is clean, and you inspect it from outside sometimes, and you do that, there's a pretty good chance that they'll catch the bad thing, the misconfiguration, and the low-hanging fruit for hackers are taken care of. Let's focus on that. Let's work with those kind of vendors, right? But they have a SOC 2. So what? Yeah, I've seen SOC 2. It's just unbelievable.
How do you, these things get quite technical as you dive into each of these different worlds, from AppSec to cloud security network, the acronyms are just piling on.
Yeah.
I imagine that other C-levels and the other management, they don't follow Hacker News regularly. They don't necessarily read the Verizon breach, which makes sense that they wouldn't because they have other things to do in the business.
Yeah.
How do you then mitigate that gap between you're making a lot of these really critical decisions and they trust you obviously to make them? What do they care about? And so what does this relationship look like in the healthiest way?
Yeah, so they don't care. They don't care about cyber. They don't need to care about cyber. I always used to make, I see a lot of startups, and I have the startups like, oh, look, we're going to shift left, and the developers are going to do it, and the team leaders are going to access the portal. And I'm like, well, why? Why would they do that? Because they care about security. I'm like, do they though? I'm not saying they're negligent. I'm not saying they hate security. I'm just saying, like, if they love security so much, they'd be working for me. You know what I mean? But they're developers. So obviously they want to develop, and they don't want to waste time not developing. So the whole concept of like, oh, just give it to the developers. I'm not saying developers shouldn't be involved. Obviously, if you're working in a company and you're producing code and you're producing features, developers need to be involved. The producers need to be there.
Yes.
But if you don't if you don't make them honest, they won't be honest.
Yes.
So that's one aspect of that is that management. It's even more. If you're talking about a chief marketing officer, it's not like he wants the company to get hacked. He wants to produce value, to get sales, to show the shareholders we're doing well, to push Rapyd's not IPO'd yet, to push Rapyd to IPO, to generate revenue. That's what he wants. Now, he doesn't want what I want. And so when I want something and you don't want what I want, what's that called? That's called negotiation. So now, is negotiation me against you? No. That's a bad negotiation. The second we're pitted against, the negotiation failed. We saw that, a few weeks ago with Zelensky and Trump. They could have had a collaborative discussion. Like Zelensky,
yes,
who's a CISO, could have come to the CEO there and be like, and reframed what Trump is saying to make it a positive light and not attacked.
Yes.
And kind of have been more retrospective and being more respectful. And I'm not saying he's wrong. It's not about wrong or right. It's about what's effective. So when you deal with anybody who's senior, who has an agenda, that's a good thing. You want your chief marketing officer, your chief revenue officer, your chief, your CTO, whoever, to have their agenda. Because if they have your agenda, one of you is useless.
Yes.
And it's not like, oh, well, let's fire the marketing guy because the CISO, he knows. It doesn't work like that, right? So you need to understand what they want and give them service where they want and kind of show that what you want is the path to what they want. And It's easier to say it. It's much harder to do it, but that's the game you play at senior management. So you ask me what my job is. I guess a lot of times that's kind of my job. And when I'm good at that, we get good results and we get good collaboration and buy-in from everybody. And when I troll them, and you always have that little thing, that little schoolboy thing, like, what if you tell him he has a big nose or something? And you're like, oh my God. Or he's like, no, screw you. We're doing it my way, you idiot.
Like trolling scammers sometimes.
Yeah, trolling scammers. Yeah. Exactly. Trolling scammers or anything like that. So, and then it's like a big fight and that's bad. So it's all people,
It's all people.
It's all people. Yeah.
So people, now you had a chip on your shoulder to also engage with the startup ecosystem. You get to work with young companies that are early in their journey. You get on one hand to deal with the most mature, complex systems, securing assets in fintech, with the biggest clients in the world. On the other hand, you're communicating and you're collaborating with very early founders looking at cybersecurity. What does that work look like? Working with founders?
Well, it depends on the founder, right? Some founders are very, very close-minded. I guess I won't work with them probably today. Back then, I would try to work with them, and they would. I remember I fired a founder from a free design partnership because he'd make a lot of promises. He wouldn't deliver. He wouldn't be reactive, and it's like, what's going on here, man? And I'm saying, like, listen, I'm shutting down your access. We're not working together. They're like, but it's free. I'm like, yeah, but it's wasting me time. You know what I mean? So
why go on a design partnership with the company that probably has very little to offer in the first place? In a company like that's as big as Rapyd, where you have so much on your plate, so many different things to take care of.
So it's not true they have little to offer. And by the way, I think, shout out to Gili Ra'anan, he probably doesn't care anymore because he made so much money now. So he's probably just walking around, doing whatever he wants. But I heard in an interview, I think, or maybe he said it to me personally, I don't know. But he said something beautiful. He said, like, why CISOs love CyberStarts is because we are their R&D arm. You know what I mean? And this is what we were talking about earlier. I'm not gonna put on R&D money on deepfakes. I'm not gonna solve the next problem. But CyberStarts, Gilot, YL, Teammate, or a bunch of others, right? There's so many VCs. They're looking what are the next things. So if you're not collaborating, you're not touching the next things. And so that's a big thing. And then you get a hungry founder who's probably smart because raising money is freaking hard. So he's smart and he's got a good team because just by odds they didn't do it, and they want to solve a problem. Now, some problems you don't care about. There's some problems that really I'm sorry, it sounds cool. We don't really care about that. We don't really do that. That's where I have to focus. But some problems, it hits home and we need it, or we need something next to it, and they're willing to be flexible. And then it's like, okay, free work or cheap work. I don't like free, like, some Israeli CISOs, they're like, oh, I didn't pay anything. Haha, I've got them for 4 years, or unicorn, I'm still not paying. I'm like, why aren't you paying? I mean, you are paying for something, right? You're paying Palo Alto, you're paying Checkpoint, you're paying somebody, right? Why aren't you paying this little startup? It's cheaper, and they really need the revenue right now. When they got, like, the Fortune 1000 companies, they're not going to need your $10,000. They're not, you always need money, right? But it's not going to be that impactful. But right now, you can make a big impact, and you can get it a lot cheaper than you would later on. So I think, first off,
it's super interesting hearing the way that you're framing that. You're looking at a hungry founder with a great team that has raised capital from top investors, and you're saying, "Wow, this is almost an extension of an R&D arm that I can."
Yes. So that's a perspective I heard from Gilly, and I really like, and the kind of service that you get, the accessibility. And again, it's like you're in Israel, cyber capital of the world, smartest founders and doing cyber. You're a CISO, so contribute to that ecosystem. First off, if you like the product, if you don't like the product, don't buy it. But if you like the product and you use it, give them a check. Give them a check, buy the product. Don't be cheap. Don't be stingy. You're using it, pay for it. Then, on the opposite side, give them feedback, help them be better. Be a good partner, because and demand from them that they help you solve your problem for real and not waste your time. You know what I mean? So not all founders. I've met founders and they were like really stuck up. They're like, I could talk to anybody, but I chose you. I'm like, too bad. Or you got the clueless ones. They're like, so what keeps you up at night? I'm like, you keep me up at night because what happens is you're wasting an hour now. You have no idea what the hell you're doing, and then I got to work that hour. Like, it's not like the work disappears. So then I sleep less. So what literally keeps me up at night is your dumb mouth talking right now. I don't say all those words, but that's what I'm thinking. I just smile like, I don't know. But what I'm thinking is, like, it's so frustrating. Like, do your homework. What value? You should always strive to have value.
Right.
You have a conversation. We had small talk before the interview right now, and I'm trying to give you value, and you're trying to give me value. So it's a good discussion, right?
Right.
So if you call up a CISO and you're not giving him value, even in the validation call,
sure,
you're wasting his time, because he talked to a million founders, especially an Israeli CISO. So, but sometimes they're like, oh, I talked to 30 CISOs. Here are the insights. No, I saw the CISO in this big American tech company, or like in Netflix, I talked to the head of AppSec. This is what they do. So we thought to replicate that without working. I'm like, oh, this is not what Netflix does. Cool. Then you're starting to get value, because they talked to a lot of people, and sometimes you can even give value if you don't know anything. So it's hard, but it's hard. And people who went through that journey and they're able to understand a problem and generate value in a specific problem, those are interesting people to talk to, and a lot of times it's interesting people to work with. It's rare. Today it's rare and rare because there's so many people trying. I get hit up a lot. To the point that sometimes, like, I see, like, I get the vibe from the message. I'm something like, okay, I'm not going to meet you now. I'll meet you in 3 months when you get a freaking clue, So it really depends on the person. Sometimes it's like he says all the right thing. I meet them like the next week. They have a cool thing. I give them some feedback, and then they raise some money, or they even raise, and then we can become design partners, and they solve my problems, and we work together, and it's really cool.
It comes down to the pain point, generating value.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes they're close. I'm not like, I don't test it. It's not a job interview. Oh, you couldn't guess my pain point. Ding, ding, ding. Like a trap door opens.
Right.
Right. So no, sometimes they're like, yeah, that's cool. But if you look at it like this angle, that would be good. Then they have to make a choice. Sometimes it's out of the world. They're like, no, we're only focused on like Microsoft Suite. You guys are, I don't know, at a Google shop, or
sure.
We're not there yet. Roadmap. I'm like, okay, cool. Roadmap. Let's stay friends. Let's meet when you're there. So it really depends. But again, it's all about people. It's all about honest conversations, value. Dude, what kind of partners do you want to work with? Is a partner going to see what you see, or is a partner who's trying to use you? They just need a logo. You know what I mean? They're like, if he just says yes, then I'll go to the VC and I'll say Rapyd said yes, and that's it. There's say yes. It's like, I don't want to say, like, I don't want to be a part of that.
Sure.
You understand? So
absolutely.
And it's tough to do. It's tough to do. Founders tend to get better at it. Founders who raise money and talk to a lot of customers and fail a lot, and like, oh my God, that went terrible. What happened? And they're coachable.
I had my fair share of terrible conversations. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How is AI changing the game?
So it's funny. So AI is an amazing thing, right? We all love it. The number one thing that AI is impacting me on day to day is like hiring, right? It's like so hard. At first we were like feeling like victims. Oh no, people are using ChatGPT to answer like the questions because we want to do some screener questions. I'm like, this is great. We can we have a laziness detection system. So then you kind of spike the questions with like kind of keywords that makes the chat answer it, or you kind of rephrase it, or you ask for more things. And then when you talk to them, you can find out that they're lazy, that they're generic. You see like generic, and you're right. So today I just sent out like a test to for a junior position. And I said, I expect you to use anything you want, including AI, but I will, if the test comes back generic, that means you didn't think. So, it's a great tool to use. All these coding assistants. I totally don't believe in AI risks. Like, there are risks in every computer system. They're not new risks. Ultimately, when you boil down the risk in AI, data leak. But I'm old enough, again, I'm 87, I'm old enough to remember the mainframe days. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm old enough to remember, before there was AI, people still ask questions. And where would they go to? They go to two places, Stack Overflow and Reddit. So I remember a story from NSO that we're seeing somebody trying to access our environment with a domain admin username, a legit one, and his password. And they're kind of failing because they don't know where to do it. And we're investigating. And we find out that the domain admin put in a PowerShell script in Stack Overflow with his username and password. He made an honest mistake. So obviously we switched that. So in that perspective, I wish ChatGPT existed. No breach attempt, right? Right? Because you put it in there and you're home free, right? But theoretically somebody could trick it one day. Show me that it happens. Till then, it's all theoretical stuff. And again, as I said, if one thing I learned in my life is to focus on what's not theoretical, what could actually get me now. So, maybe in 2 years, all AI will get broken and there'll be a magic button that it just spits out information. And then, I'll be totally wrong. We're not in that day right now. So, and I got enough things to do. I'm not going to focus on that. So does that mean we don't focus on data leak protection? Of course we do. We're a finance company. We have to focus on that. That's mandated. We have to put controls in place. Am I going to go crazy that it happens? No. Same thing with code security or any packages. Developers make mistakes. AI is just another kind of employee. So it gives a lot of opportunity. It makes mistakes too, just like humans do. And good thing, by the way, because imagine nobody made any mistakes, we wouldn't have anything to do.
Absolutely.
I always tell my team, thank God there's attacks. I don't want to get attacked. Attack everybody but me, but attack. Be in the news, be
or
front
even better,
page news.
Attack and I'll catch you. That's the best.
No, don't attack me. Don't test me. Stay away from me. I don't want it.
Rapyd.
But Rapyd. Me, Rapyd. But the fact that it exists in the world is a great thing. It's a great thing because it gives us work. It makes an industry. It's good. So AI, the fact that it's not perfect is awesome, because if AI would be perfect, we're seeing there's no need for us. It gives a lot of value. The risk right now is undefined, in my opinion. It's more of the old risk. Data security is a real thing. Now, what's your risk appetite for data security? Do you mind people searching stuff in Google? Okay, you do. So maybe all you need is an enterprise account,
right?
And all you need is an enterprise account, and then just to wrap that around with a little control. Or you need. So these are the kind of things we do. So that's a risk I see right now in AI. That said, there are interesting things that could happen, and we see every day. We just see, we're here talking a few days after OpenAI changed their picture module.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. As a finance company with fraud implications today, I guess fraud engines that have to scan are obsolete. That's why you see more and more biometrics push. I'm sure that can be forged too. I'm 100% sure.
Biometrics, deepfakes, of course.
Of course, biometrics. But even a fingerprint of a fingerprint. I kind of hash of a fingerprint or whatever you need to do. You can make it unique. You can make it.
Yep.
It's coming big, and it's not there yet, thankfully, but it's very close. So that's something I am keeping my eye on, and that's something again we need to collaborate with companies that specialize in that, that can wrap it around, give us holistic solutions to that. Will it be perfect? No, but again, good.
Is your job getting harder or easier over the years?
Personally, harder because Rapyd is scaling, but that's a good thing. It's more challenging. There's more companies. There's more technical debt. I used to joke about companies with technical debt or multi-cloud. I'm like, oh, look at these suckers. They got multi-cloud. No, it's not that they're suckers. It's that I was just an inexperienced guy. We had a small company. We had AWS and that's it. So it's inexperienced. It's easy. Today, if your company is at scale, you have multi-cloud plus on-prem plus this plus that, and then technical debt goes up and up and up, and you have more features that never came and more packages and more containers. Just if the company is old enough, it's going to have technical debt. The job is going to get harder. And then you have to look how you prevent stuff, how you automate stuff, and their AI can definitely help. You look at like Coursera's out now, you look what it can do with code. The way it understands code, that's like, I wish, there were SaaS tools doing that like 3-4 years ago. So there are positive things, and the technical debt is going out. I don't think, again, AI is a new tool that everybody wants. You got to integrate it. As a CIO, it makes my job more complicated because now we have to integrate it into more and more things, because Rapyd is really pushing to become an AI company. At the same time, it is a good thing. Less mistakes, less manual work. AI makes less mistakes than humans. So that's not a bad thing to automate and put in workflows. It's actually a positive. But it is getting there is harder work.
Nir, I had such an interesting time. Thank you so much for coming. For spending this time with me, for the pre-conversation, for this conversation. Seriously, just all around, such an interesting journey from operations to chemistry. Don't know how we got there. To NSO and obviously Rapyd, and super interesting also hearing. Ultimately, there's a lot of complexity and there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving targets, and it's all about the people at the end. All in every way you look at it.
Until the machines take over. And then it's all about the prompting, which is, again, communication.
Exactly.
Yeah, so AI, again, everybody's like, it's like human, it's like intelligence. They're saying there's intelligence involved, it's about communication. So that's why if you prompt better, then you're going to be more successful.
It's all about communication.
Yeah, exactly.
Nir, תודה רבה.
תודה לך.